They crossed the threshold, and the darkness of the shack swallowed them whole. Moments later, the rotting wooden door slammed shut with a thunderous boom, as if an invisible hand had shoved it. A sudden gust of wind, Aina told herself, but she didn't believe it. They were trapped inside. The air was stagnant and heavy with odor. The musty smell of rotting wood, the dust of decades forgotten, and another scent sickly sweet like decaying lily. The only light filtered through cracks in the walls and roof, casting faint, dusty beams into the space. As her eyes adjusted to the gloom, Aina saw the room's true horror. This was a shrine to madness. Hanging from the rafters, nailed to the walls, scattered in corners were hundreds of doll parts. Headless torsos, wide-eyed, soulless faces. Plastic and porcelain arms and legs dangled like cuts of meat in a butcher's shop. At the room's center, looming like an ancient altar, stood a rusted cast-iron stove, nearly consumed by corrosion. "Mateo, hold the door," Aina commanded, her voice sharp with adrenaline. "I'll handle the stove." No second words needed. Mateo lunged to the door, bracing it with his shoulder and back, while Aina raced to the stove. Her hope sank. The stove was cold and damp. Inside, only a clump of ashen soot and a few moldy, waterlogged sticks remained outside. The silence ended. It began with a soft scratch on the wood, then another. Soon, dozens of scraping sounds erupted from all sides of the shack, a ghastly chorus of plastic and porcelain clawing at rotting timber. Then a soft thud against the door. Another, harder. Then a barrage of impacts, as if small bodies were hurling themselves at it. "They're trying to get in." Mateo roared, straining to keep the door from bursting off its hinges. "I'm trying." Aina shot back, her trembling hands fumbling to light a match. She crumpled old newspaper scraps she'd found, stuffed them under the damp wood, and struck a third match. This time it caught. A small, feeble flame flickered, then sputtered out in the moist air. "Hurry, Aina." The scratching was now right beside her on the wall. Through a crack in the wood, something emerged. A porcelain finger, bone white, its tip chipped. It wriggled aimlessly in the air. Then another. A doll's hand, groping for a hold. Aina screamed and stumbled back. The siege had begun. She glanced at Mateo, his back taut, sweat soaking his shirt. The door shuddered under the onslaught from outside. She looked at her own hand, and in the dim light, she saw their skin. It shimmered faintly, coral scales. It had started on her. That personal horror drowned out everything else. Fear turned to desperate rage. She wouldn't let this thing claim her. She grabbed every scrap of old newspaper left, tore them apart, and heedless of burns, lit a fire straight from the matchbox. This time, the dry paper caught, and the flame roared to life. Small but steady. "Mateo!" She shouted. The door behind him splintered with a loud crack. A pink plastic hand broke through, its fingers sprouting long, sharp keratin nails, clawing at the air. No time left. Aina flung open the latch of the metal box, seizing the glass vial containing the purest sample. Without hesitation, she hurled it into the heart of the fire. The glass shattered instantly. The weak flame erupted into a fierce blaze, glowing an eerie green. A piercing hiss rose from the stove, followed by an inhuman scream. A cacophony of hundreds of anguished voices fused into one, erupting from the fire itself. The scream echoed through the shack, through the wooden walls, across the island, a sound of life being torn apart at its peak. Everything stopped. The pressure on the door vanished. The scratching ceased. The hands reaching through the cracks fell limp, Motionless, a heavy, absolute silence enveloped the island. Inside the shack, the fire had returned to a normal orange, licking at the remnants of the glass vial. Ana and Mateo stood panting in the sudden stillness, cold sweat streaming down their faces. They had survived, but as Ana slowly raised her trembling hand to the firelight, she wasn't sure if the shimmering scales had truly disappeared. The fire in the stove dwindled to glowing embers, casting a faint flickering light on the two exhausted figures. The scream had faded, but the silence it left was heavier still, a void where abject terror had reigned. Ana and Mateo leaned against opposite walls, their chests heaving. Adrenaline ebbed, leaving bone-deep exhaustion. Ana felt every muscle trembling. From fatigue and stress, the smell of burnt plastic and an indescribable stench, the odor of unnatural life incinerated, lingered in the air. After what felt like minutes, Ana moved first. She raised her hand where she'd seen the shimmering scales. In the ember glow, her skin looked normal, no glimmer. But was it real, or was the faint light deceiving her? "Your arm," she said. Her voice hoarse. Mateo looked down, then at Ana. Without a word, he rolled up his sleeve. Ana stepped closer, exhaustion giving way to urgent focus. She flicked on her flashlight, aiming it at the altered skin. It was no longer a hard, nacreous patch. Now it was just red, slightly swollen, and blistered like a burn. Painful, but human. It felt like a normal wound, not an alien transformation. "It feels like skin again," Mateo said, his voice tinged with disbelief. As if he dared not trust it, Ana nodded, a fragile relief creeping in. "Mine too," she said, holding out the back of her hand. Mateo checked this time. His rough fingers brushed her trembling skin. "I don't see anything," he confirmed. "Just skin." They locked eyes. A strange new ritual had been born in this filthy shack. They were each other's only measure of reality. Only the other could confirm the nightmare had retreated from their bodies. "We need to get out of here," Mateo said. He approached the splintered door, cautiously pushing it open. It groaned pitifully and swung wide. The morning sunlight flooded in, so bright they both squinted. They stepped outside together. The world had changed. The silence remained, but it was no longer menacing. The air was fresh and clean. The sense of being watched, oppressed, was gone. The dolls that had blocked the door now lay in a chaotic heap on the ground. Lifeless, harmless, broken plastic arms, glass eyes reduced to empty shards. They weren't terrifying anymore. They were pitiable. They retraced their path. The journey felt different now. They passed the dolls that had once horrified them, now just forgotten toys, rotting with time. The malevolent presence was gone, leaving only profound sadness and waste. The island was no longer a living predator. It was just an island, a grave for shattered memories. Neither spoke until they reached the boat. Mateo started the engine, and they left Puppet Island for the last time, never looking back. The return to the main dock was long and quiet. When the first sounds of civilization, cumbia music, laughter, other boats' engines reached them, they felt alien. It was as if they were emerging from another world, one with its own rules, struggling to reintegrate into a reality they no longer belonged to. As the boat docked, Ana and Mateo stepped onto the bustling pier. Around them, people lived their ordinary lives, oblivious to the life or death struggle just miles away. The entire experience now felt like a fever, a delirious dream, but it wasn't a dream. The raw, burned skin on Mateo's arm and a new cold fear taking root in Ana's soul were undeniable proof. They had returned, but part of them remained forever on that silent, deadly island. They stood on the crowded pier, two solitary islands in a sea of strangers. Music, chatter, and engine hums washed over them, but an invisible bubble of silence seemed to surround them. They had returned to the world of the living, but they no longer truly belonged. Ina started, then fell silent. What could she say? Thank you for saving my life. Sorry for nearly killing us both. No words sufficed for what they'd endured together. Mateo looked at her, then at the thick wad of cash Ina had paid him. Silently, he pulled it from his pocket and held it out to her. I don't take money for that, he said firmly. Ina started to refuse, but she saw the resolve in his eyes. This wasn't a transaction, and they both knew it. She took the money back. Their hands brushed briefly, and both flinched, a reflex born of fear of contamination. Mateo hesitated. We should have a way to stay in touch. It wasn't a friendly offer. It was an acknowledgement of necessity. They exchanged numbers in solemn silence. 2 sets of digits, 10 numbers. Now they're only tethered to sanity. Then they parted. Mateo returned to his boat, his silhouette quiet and solitary. Ina hailed a taxi, reciting her hotel address like an automaton. The hotel room greeted her with the hum of the air conditioner and the artificial lemon scent of air freshener. It was clean, orderly, sterile. But after the organic chaos of the island, this cleanliness felt stifling, wrong. Ina slammed the door shut, leaned against it, and for the first time in hours, allowed herself to breathe. The first thing she did was shower. She stood under scalding water for ages, scrubbing her skin with soap until it reddened. She scoured her hand, arms, neck, anywhere the memory of shimmering scales might linger. She wanted to wash away not just the dirt, but the island's residue, the feeling of cellular violation. But no matter how hard she scrubbed, that sensation remained. Buried beneath her skin, she tried returning to work, an attempt to reclaim her old self. She opened her laptop, staring at the scribbled notes from before the trip. Scientific terms, hypotheses about pollution, now they seemed naive, meaningless. They belonged to a world with rules. Then the symptoms began. A faint scratching sound she thought came from the vents, but it reminded her of nails on wooden walls. A shadow flitting at the edge of her vision, just a fly. Her reflection in the dark TV screen looked wrong, as if it moved when she wasn't. Watching, her scientific mind tried to explain it. Fatigue, post-traumatic stress, normal psychological responses. But fear didn't obey logic. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the bed, but sleep brought no peace. It dragged her back. She dreamed of swimming in a thick, oily canal, living tendrils wrapping around her limbs. She dreamed of dolls singing a tuneless song, their mouths sprouting keratin nails instead of teeth. She dreamed of looking in a mirror and seeing her face covered in shimmering coral scales. Ina jolted awake, screaming. The room was pitch black. Her chest pounded. Cold sweat soaked her pillow. She felt utterly alone, imprisoned in her own fear. She needed confirmation. She needed an anchor to reality. With trembling hands, she grabbed her phone, scrolling to the newly saved number. She didn't think. She just dialed. After 3 long rings, the other end picked up. Hello? Mateo's voice, groggy and rough. Mateo? Ina said, her voice nearly a sob. It's Ina. Are you okay? Your arm? A pause, then rustling, as if he was sitting up. I'm fine, he replied, more alert. Just a burn. It's healing you. Your hand. That question, one only he could ask, pulled her back from the brink of panic. "Fine," she said, her breathing steadying. "I'm fine too, nothing." "Good," he said. Silence fell again, but this time it wasn't tense. It was understanding. "Thank you," Aina whispered, then hung up. She sat on the bed in the dark, clutching the phone. The panic had passed, leaving an empty calm. She'd found a temporary antidote to her fear, the other's confirmation, and in that moment, she knew this wouldn't be the last time she called him. A new ritual, born of fear and paranoia, had just begun after the phone call. Aina managed to sleep a fitful, dreamless slumber that lasted only a few hours. When she woke, morning sunlight flooded the hotel room. The panic of the previous night had receded, leaving a fragile calm, like the earth after a quake. Still trembling with aftershocks, she sat on the bed, surveying the room. Everything was in place, clean and orderly. But for Aina, something had changed forever. The air seemed to carry an invisible membrane, separating her from this normal world. She was a traveler returned from an unmapped land, carrying its dust. In her soul, she knew she couldn't stay in Mexico another day. The research was over. No more data to collect, no hypotheses to test. Only annoying fear remained. Staying would be self-torture with newfound resolve. She opened her laptop and booked a flight home. The earliest departure was tomorrow morning. Clicking confirm gave her a fleeting sense of control. She was acting. She was leaving. She was escaping before packing. She tried one last act as a scientist, drafting a preliminary report. She sat before a blank screen, fingers on the keyboard, struggling to shape the chaos in her mind into coherent, objective sentences. The sample indicates the presence of an unknown filamentous microorganism, tentatively named Cordyceps oxycomilcensis. It exhibits complex swarm behavior and the ability to what? Aina stopped. To restructure inorganic matter into organic? To transform plastic into keratin? Writing it down made it laughable. It sounded like a cheap horror movie script, not a scientific report. Any colleague reading this would think she'd lost her mind. Frustrated, she deleted everything. The truth she'd witnessed was unspeakable, unretablethed. Impotence morphed into another kind of energy, a need to control what she could. She went to the bathroom and started washing her hands. Once, then again, scrubbing between her fingers and wrists obsessively. Then she looked in the mirror. She leaned close, inspecting every millimeter of her face for the faintest glimmer. A new habit had formed. Packing became a purge. When she faced her research equipment, pipettes, slides, the portable microscope that had revealed that horror, a shiver ran down her spine. They had touched it. She couldn't take them home. But she also couldn't toss them in the hotel trash. That would violate every biohazard protocol in the end. She brought everything to the bathroom. She poured half a bottle of bleach into the sink, soaking the tools, the acrid chemical smell stinging her nose. This was no longer scientific sterilization. It was an exorcism. The next morning, at Benito Juarez International Airport, Aina felt lighter. She'd passed security, sat in the lounge, ticket in hand. She was going home. She was leaving it all behind, but as the loudspeaker announced boarding for her flight, an irresistible urge surged within her. A need for one final check, she found. A quiet corner, pulled out her phone, and dialed Mateo. He answered almost instantly, as if expecting her. "It's me," his voice came, unsurprised. "I'm about to board," Aina said quickly, trying to sound calm. "Just checking, are you still okay?" "I'm fine," he replied. the wounds scabbing over. You? I'm fine too. The lie slipped out easily. I'll call when I get home. Safe travels. They hung up. The exchange was brief, almost mechanical. But it did what it needed to. It tamed the paranoid beast in her chest. At least for the next few hours, Anna pocketed her phone and joined the boarding crowd. Settled in her seat as the plane accelerated down the runway, she looked out the window, watching Mexico City shrink. Below, she was leaving this place geographically, but she knew, with terrifying certainty, that she could never escape. She carried the island's echo in her mind and the number of her nightmare's companion in her contacts. This dependency was now her carry-on luggage. 3 weeks had passed since Anna's return on the surface. Her life seemed to have resumed its orbit. She woke in her own apartment, drank her usual coffee, and went to the university lab. But it was a facade. Beneath, everything was warped. Her reality now had a crack, and she couldn't stop peering into it, dreading what might crawl out. The ritual with Mateo had become a constant in her new life. Every morning at 7, she called him. Their dialogue barely varied, a prayer for normalcy. It's me. It's Anna. You okay? I'm fine. The scars faded. You? I'm fine too. Nothing. Good. That was it. A 30-second exchange, but it was the air she needed to breathe for the next 24 hours. It was confirmation that the only person on Earth who understood her secret was still human. And if he was human, she could be too, but that normalcy was a lie she told herself. Pressure from the Research Institute was mounting. They needed her report on the Xochimilco syndrome to close out the grant. She'd sat for hours at her computer, trying to write. She couldn't record the truth. An ancient parasite capable of matter transformation. Writing that was a one-way ticket to a psych ward, so she tried to lie. She attempted to package the horror in acceptable scientific terms. She wrote of an unidentified extremophile fungus, of neurotoxins causing aberrant behavior in aquatic species, of collective hallucinations possibly induced by environmental factors. Every word she typed betrayed what she'd truly seen and insulted Mateo. In the end, she couldn't do it. She slammed her laptop shut, the report unfinished. She'd rather be seen as a failed scientist than a liar. Her professional impotence worsened her new habits. Checking her skin had become an obsession. She did it multiple times a day in the bathroom, in window reflections, on her dark phone screen. She stretched the skin on her hand, searching for a shimmer. She parted her hair to inspect her scalp. She'd bought a magnifying glass and used it to scrutinize every freckle, every mole, turning her body into a potential crime scene. One afternoon, after a rain shower, she walked home. Crossing the street, she saw it. An oil slick on the wet asphalt, the late sun hitting it, creating a rainbow sheen. Green, pale pink, silver. For a moment, the world vanished. She wasn't on a noisy street. She was on the Trajanera, the air thick with marsh stench, facing the deadly, shimmering oil slick on the canal's black water. She could hear Mateo's oars, feel the waiting silence of Puppet Island. Her heart raced. She gasped, clutching a wall to keep from falling. Passersby glanced at her with concern. Car horns blared from another world. She ran home, locked the door, and rushed to the bathroom. She stood before the mirror, not to check her skin. She looked into her eyes. She wanted to find Anna Morales, the rational, confident biologist, but woman in the mirror wasn't her. The woman staring back had wide, panicked eyes. Her face was pale, gaunt, dark circles no makeup could hide. It was the face of a survivor. A hunted woman, not by something external, but by her own memory. She left the island, but the island had never left her. It had become part of her. Source code, a glitch slowly corrupting her entire system piece, wasn't a state she could achieve. It was just a brief pause between panic attacks. And as she stared into the stranger's eyes in the mirror, Aina realized a terrifying truth. She wasn't getting better. She was getting worse.